Welcome to the Sangani Show, where we will talk about everything health, wealth, and wisdom. I came to the US in 1983 from Mumbai, India with $10.45 in my pocket and with a big dream in my heart. Now, I'm a practicing cardiologist, a businessman, an entrepreneur, life mentor, and most importantly, a dad. I have lost some, I won some. But every time I lost or won, I learned even more. And my success has not been easy, but finally I made it. And my next mission is to help you do the same. Learn from my experiences, and that is life is a business.
Hello, and welcome to the Sangani Show. And my name is, well, you all know it, Dr. Bharat Sangani, your favorite doctor and your host. And today we're going to talk about work-life balance. Is there such a thing? All of you pretty much know my viewpoint on it, but today we have a very exclusive guest. In fact, I don't think I've ever met anybody who has truly excelled to this level in my entire life. So it's a great privilege to have somebody who truly have demonstrated how to excel in one thing and still manage to be kind of a normal individual with rest of the aspects of life. And that person today is Mechelle. So don't call her Mechelle, okay? It's Mechelle. So Mechelle is here, Mechelle Freeman. And let me tell you, I've met a few superwomen in my life outside of the movie that we saw. And I've always been impressed with some of these women, how they have truly created a life around it. For a life of me, I can't do everything what most of these women that I've met. And certainly I can't do any of it that the woman you're going to meet today. Mechelle is a very interesting story. So I'm going to still hold off on her accomplishment till I give you a little bit more background on her. She graduated from the University of South Carolina with her bachelor's and master's degrees in integrated marketing communications. She went on to manage advertising and marketing accounts for global brands including Coca-Cola, IBM, and Xerox. Here again, who can get to that point, right? So that's the first indication that we are now looking at somebody developing into a superwoman. Then she started having her fantasy that she always had about running. And then she started all these things when she was 14 years old. Through the college, she took a 4-year break, and we'll talk about that, why she took the break, because it's very important for this younger generation to understand whether to take break or not, and we'll listen to her experience and her advice on that. And then one fine morning, she just wanted to be an Olympian. Now, I've met a few people, not a few, very few people who have been in on the team, etc. But I've never had met somebody who has accomplished as much as in the Olympics as she did. And guess what? So we have an Olympian today, and not only that, somebody who has really accomplished gold medals one after another. So she had so many gold medals that I said, don't bring all of them. just bring one so I can show it to our viewers. And this is one of her gold medal, and I'll let her explain what that is. But if you go back to her story, it is 2007, she was world champion in the 4 times 100 meter relay, then 208. She was an Olympian herself. And she'll tell us a story that what came between the medal and them, it was just a freak situation. Otherwise, we would have had one more medal on her name today. And then she became a coach, and she recently did the coaching and received all these gold medals that we just looked at it at the 2020 Olympic Games and 2022 World Championship. As you all know, 2020 Olympic Games actually happened in 2021, but Mechelle was there and coaching the team. And when you look at her, you can say, man, she looks so normal individual. and I was just totally baffled by her accomplishments. So let's just jump right into it. Mechelle, tell us a little bit about you. We are just fascinated about you.
No, well, thank you for those words. It's a pleasure to be here today. You know what? Growing up, my mom always, she was big on access, just so I can see the possibilities out there. And so since I was a little girl, I always thought that the world was open to me. And I've continued to have that mindset. And so if it's something that is on my brain, then I think it's attainable. And I go for it. And so that's been instilled in me since I can remember. And it's helped me throughout my life, on the track and off the track. But growing up, I'm from Maryland, from Prince George's County, Maryland. And I have a twin sister. So the two of us, when we started sports, that was just one thing. I did dance, I did Girl Scouts, you know, different things to figure out who I was or the things that I enjoyed to do. But it was really sports that we set ourselves apart a little bit more than other areas. And we became quickly known as the Fast Twins. And fast we were. When we started running track when we were 14, and we never stopped. It kept going from there, went on to the University of South Carolina. We were a part of the first national championship team for any sport at the University of South Carolina. I decided to move to New York to pursue advertising career. And of course, you know, at the time I was training and I wanted to go to the 2004 Olympics, but I was hurt and didn't think it was possible. So I always tell people to not set yourself in that box, you know, kind of have options on what you are able to do so you can stay in control of what you have to do or want to do. And so when that plan was taken away, I focused on something else I enjoyed to do, which was advertising and marketing. And I had got my master's degree and I had to do an internship. And I met, it was an ad agency called Y&R in New York. And I met a group of people at an event and reached out to them. And so I got the job, moved to New York. And after about 2 years, I started thinking about running again. So
was that the 4-year break you talking
about? That was my
about?
4-year break. That was my 4-year break. I took 2 years off to pursue my graduate degree, and then the other 2 years of actually working at the agency in New York for the 2 years. So that was 4 years off. And no, I was not running or I was not training. I was having fun in New York, living New York City, 25-year-old life. And, you know, the dream just came back to me. I had teammates from college who were in the 2004 Olympics, so I was still being inspired and had that understanding of the people who I trained with every single day were able to compete at that level. So I knew I had the talent. Now it was just, can I pull it out of me to really pull this together? I only had 2 years to do it. I quit my job in 2006, and then in 2008, I was walking in the Olympic Stadium.
Wow. This is an unbelievable story. But ladies and gentlemen, I've always told my children what I'm going to tell you in a second, and she's a prime example of it. Always follow your passion, but not at the cost of what you ought to be doing at the time of your life, what is required to be done. And primarily that's education, be able to sustain yourself financially in case the situation that you only have to depend on your education. And also education makes you understand the world better. And I think you will fit in the society slightly better because education prepares you for that. So kudos to you. I mean, you are so humble and you are just playing as if it was not a big deal to be running in Olympics. We understand, we know that, that it's not that simple. And we truly, our hats are off to you for giving us this advice, and the viewers and the listeners, this is a great advice to follow. my dad always used to say, son, do whatever you want to do, just don't quit your daytime job.
Well, that's what my mother said too when I told her I was quitting. But we worked through that moment.
You sure did. And as you probably know, not many people come to my show and wear a hat. But this hat is very special. And we really requested her that keep your medal on the desk so I can show it to everybody. Keep your hat on so everybody can truly see the flavor of what dedication does that. Now, as you saw her, she's petite, and you wouldn't think that she would be an Olympian running all those things. I asked her, and she said she actually weighed 15 pounds more when she got her medal, and that was all muscle. So I've never, I'm a cardiologist, as most of you know. I don't think I have had a patient who had 15 pounds of muscle lost and everything else was still fine. So, Mechelle, tell us a little bit about how did you do that? How did you gain that much of muscle, and how much exercise you did, and what kept you going for this?
Yeah. I mean, once I actually committed to making an Olympic team, then you have to understand what is required of that. And of course, it's going to be a high mental and physical demand. So right away, you're talking about training 6 days a week and with 1 day off. And on those 6 days, you are showing up to give your best effort every single day. I was training in the weight room for about 2 to 2.5 hours a day. Then we would go to the track for another 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So you are spending about 5 to 6 hours of training. And that's lifting, you're powerful. Like you said, it was 15 more pounds. So in the weight room, you're doing a lot of powerlifting and making sure that you can apply force. That's what sprinting is about, just being able to apply force so that you can get down the track as fast as possible, cover as much ground in one step as possible. So that's what I was doing, building muscle. Also, it's important on supplementation to fill in those gaps if you aren't eating everything all the time that you may need. So I had a very strict supplement regimen that I would follow just to make sure my body was getting the nutrition that it needed to perform at the level that I needed to perform. So just staying committed to the physical demands, fueling your body in the right ways, and of course, sleep and recovery. Just being able to repair when I close my eyes and letting the body repair and build in the ways that it needed to, so I can wake up the next day and do it all over.
Salute to you. I take big pride. I think I follow discipline fairly well, but I don't know that I can do what you did.
No, if you want it enough and you see what it requires, you will commit to making it happen.
You never heard that? And I really think I need a lot of stuff badly. I just can't get there. So, but I'm going to use this for the rest of my life, and you will be my role model whenever I waver from my desires and accomplishments. You will be a great person for me to keep thinking about it. And I know the viewers and listeners, you want to understand the work-life balance, but I'm just so fascinated by her other side of the life that I'm going to still address one more item on her Olympics and her passion and the pinnacle that she has reached. Tell us a little bit about the 2008 Olympics. It is a great story you told me. I'm sure it was a big disappointment for you that you should have won the medal and you didn't. Explain to our audience what exactly happened. And how did you still keep doing everything you've done afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, you go into an Olympic Games and you have a goal in mind, and of course, you're going to be disappointed if that doesn't happen. But when I look back, just about the journey, like I said, 2 years before the 2008 Olympic Games, I was in a cubicle on Madison Avenue. So very grateful for that moment. I just still remember walking into the stadium thinking, wow, I'm one of the 4 women in the whole U.S. that's representing our country right now. So that was a big moment, just walking into the stadium and just realizing that you were chosen for this. So I still have an immense amount of gratitude for that. That takes over that not having the medal, but of course you still want the medal. And we were going in it's the 4x100 meter relay, and it's always usually between the U.S. and Jamaica on who takes the crown. And so it was the semifinal, and with the 4x100 meters, I didn't even realize I was going to run. You know, I had to be really resilient and being one of the 4 women to actually touch the track. So 2 days before, I found out that I actually was going to touch the track, and so we went into the semifinal. And the semifinal is usually a little bit less pressure because you can go in knowing you just need to execute and live to fight another day for the final. But this time, it didn't go that way. I was second leg for that particular race, meaning I run on the straightaway. I'm the second runner. And I did actually a great job. I still look at the race. The announcer talks about how I put our team in the lead. But it felt great. I'll never forget that feeling of running and doing my job and feeling like, wow, that just happened. But when I passed the baton, it was coming up to our last runner, and I noticed that by the time that it was time for her to run out of the exchange zone, that she wasn't running out of the exchange zone. And so I could see that we dropped the baton. So instead of us easily winning the heat because we were in the lead, we were disqualified. And so in that moment, what hurt the most was that I knew that I couldn't change it. And so for the first reaction for me was just understanding, like, this is what you have to accept. So this is the moment you can't go back on, like, this is it. And so that stung a bit, but then I picked myself up and I walked off because I just thought about, you know, like I said, the journey to be there. And so that's what I live with. I live with the fact that I touched the track and that I was chosen, and I'm grateful for that.
What a great attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody who is listening and watching the show, what a commitment and what a way to think. I get a slight disappointment in my life, and I feel like the world is coming to an end.
Right.
And don't want to do anything going forward. So this is a huge lesson for all of us to learn, and certainly we'll keep that in mind. So let us now turn to a very important thing. You just showed all this huge effort that you put in to do what you have done. How did you bring back normality to your life, and how did you come up with this work-life balance? Explain that to us.
Yeah, it was, again, going back to the foundation of who I am and just experiencing one thing that I enjoy to do, and now finding that other thing that I enjoy to do and pouring into that. So I knew that that experience was over once I had a back injury and I retired about 2 years after the 2008 Olympic Games. And I went back into marketing and advertising because that's what I knew. And then as I was working at an ad agency in Atlanta, I started to think about my impact. And I was just trying to figure out how I could combine my passion for sports and what I could do in the marketing space. And I started to think about my own community as a track girl. I have been called a track girl since I was 14. And it was a community, the track girls, #TrackGirlz, and, you know, all on social media. So I started to realize at this agency I was working with that it was women in the sport who weren't being recognized for their influence and the impact that they had on sports, history, and culture. And I then had the next vision for my life, and I started TrackGirlz. And TrackGirlz is my nonprofit organization to empower girls through track and field. And I left my job, my marketing job, again, to do TrackGirlz. And at that same time that I was doing TrackGirlz, I got a call from USA Track and Field to see if I was interested in applying for a coaching position to lead our women's relays. And so I thought that was interesting because I love to do that. And that's what I do now. I balance managing my nonprofit TrackGirlz and coaching the USA relays from different national teams.
Well, congratulations again. And just like a lot of our viewers and listeners, when I grow up, my desire is to be like you.
I just see a need, and if I feel like God's blessed me with the tools to address the needs, then I don't feel like it would be put in front of me if I wasn't chosen to do it. And so I just stay obedient to the call.
Very true, very true. Before we sum this up, a great show today. Do you have any words of wisdom for our viewers and listeners, please?
Yeah, I think it's very important that when you find yourself in a place of figuring out what's next, that you establish what those values are that are going to be your uncompromising motivators. For me, mine are faith, excellence, and adventure. And whatever I do in my life, I won't compromise those three things in deciding whether or not I'm going to do something. So I think the first thing you should do is establish 3 uncompromising motivators for yourself. Once you do that, then you can apply that to your vision. And now you can hold yourself accountable to selecting and seeing yourself in those high places or those places of impact and change, and hold yourself accountable to actually doing those things. Once you have the vision, then you got to take that move. And I call that my do it afraid stage. That's where you make that choice and that decision where you can't turn back. If you share your vision, now you're holding yourself accountable with others. And so that's going to keep you moving. From there, then I talk about commitment and excellence. And that is the amount of discipline on a daily basis, like the things you have to feed or starve to achieve the vision. And that's every single day. You're either moving forward towards the goal or you're going backwards. It's never a neutral space. And so you have to really understand how serious that is. And from there, I go into poise. Poise is where now that you're doing the work, if you are doing the work every single day, then you are able to keep your grace under pressure. You're able to trust the work that you put in, and you're able to remain poised and know that the work will speak for itself. If you're doing the work speaks. So you don't need to have anxiety about anything. The poise will allow you to understand that you are prepared, you were chosen, and the work you are doing will show that. And the last thing I talk about is just being resilient, because even though you follow those steps, it's not going to always go that way, but remain persistent and understanding that if that vision was given to you and you live by those drivers, then you are in line with the vision. So just keep going forward and it'll happen. But it's just important that, every day is not going to be perfect. I would say that with work-life balance, that you have to understand that there's also some imbalances in work-life balance. So your priorities will shift. Some days work will be, more accomplished than life, and some days life will get more accomplished than work. But that's the beauty of the balance, is the imbalance. So just trust that it all works out at the end of the day, and just keep moving forward, and you'll just understand that if you just move in that space, that it'll all work out.
This is a great message. I'm glad I asked you that question. I think if most people will understand that work-life balance has to include some imbalance in it, I think life would be much more tolerable and we'll be accepting the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful for all of you to join our show today. Hopefully you are as excited and learned as much as I did. But for more information about everything what we do or I do with the team, please follow the social media, and it should be on the screen that you can learn the handles. If you want to learn more, you can go to our website, www.bharatsangani.com. There also you can see our mentorship program, which has a health, wealth, and wisdom areas that we try to share our experiences with. I think you will enjoy learning how we do, just like Mechelle does. Not as good as she does.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
But we are still trying.
Yes.
And thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again for listening. And till we see each other next time, goodbye and have fun.